So another tool is the coloring tool, which is not spectacular. It's pretty easy to use, but there is one or two cool functions that you might want to know. So mostly it is for coloring your tracks, and if you want to color a track all at once, you just go to the beginning of your track here on the left, you hold down Command and your project colors window will appear. There is another neat function. If you have your coloring tool selected, you can also click on single events and make them a certain color. Now, if you want to use that color that you have already selected here to color another event, you can hold down Alt and press, then this color is copied and you can apply that color to different events. You can also change the colors of your tracks in your mixer, like at the very bottom there is the same coloring tool as here with Command, or here and here. If you have a MIDI chord and you want to give it a slight arpeggio in the beginning or trim it in any way at the beginning or end of the notes, you can always use your mouse, select the beginning or the end and drag. If you hold down your Command key, you can deactivate the grid. If you let it go, the grid is back on. That works, of course. But you can also use another tool which is pretty cool, and is for cutting the beginning or the end of notes. And it is also, or especially, very helpful if these are more than one notes at a time. So this tool will cut the end of your notes and it will be a diagonal line. Except if you hold down your Command key, then it will be a straight line. If you want your cutting tool to cut the beginning of your notes, then you have to hold down the Alt button, or if you want a straight cut at the beginning, you have to hold down Command and Alt. So for putting in notes, there's different ways, and some of them are very convenient for certain purposes. One tool that is pretty easy to use and sometimes very helpful is the line tool. So if you want to put in several notes with the same length, you can use the line tool where you just click somewhere and draw a line, and it will in that line create single notes depending on your quantize setting. But the line tool has different modes, like a sine or rectangular mode, and some of them are really cool. Like the pencil draws nodes wherever you move your mouse, and there is almost nothing where you can't draw. But that is, I mean, if you want to have a total chaos, then it's cool, but sometimes that is a little too much. And therefore, you have some modifiers that will allow you to draw with that tool more defined. Normally, it would also create nodes depending on your quantize setting. But if you hold down the Alt button, it will draw nodes for as long as you move your mouse to the right. If you just draw, then it might happen that you go into another line and then it will create several nodes, even stacked above each other. If you want to prevent that, there's two possibilities. If you hold down the Command button, you can only draw one node. So there's only one pitch available even if you move your mouse up and down. And the other function is you hold down the Shift button. That lets you change the pitch, but it prevents you from stacking nodes above each other like so. If you hold down the Shift button, there will only be one node at a time, but you can draw different pitches. So if I use another tool, you can see it will create a sine curve, but sometimes that won't give you what you would expect, depending on your grid or the length of the nodes. So the outcome is very different depending on how big I will make my sine curve. If you have your grid activated, then even a wide curve will give me just one pitch. Except if I hold down my Command key, that changes the form of the sine curve, or even more so, if I hold down Shift, that will give me one single big sine wave. Depending on how wide I make it or how narrow. Oh yeah, and there's one more. If you hold down Command and Shift, it will give you a straight line again. So these might be interesting for the creation of creative velocity or modulation data. If you want to create like an on-off phase or a constant change in the velocity, with a certain outcome, then you can do it by using the line tool plus the key modifiers. So the last one was if I use this and hold down Command and Shift, I can create a sawtooth to whatever direction I want it to.